letting people in. So I appreciate everybody being here and our panelists being here. Yeah, so my name is Kelly Rodriguez, and I'm the Program and Policy Director with Live Tampa Bay. If you're joining one of our webinars for the first time, Live Tampa Bay is a coalition of business, faith, and philanthropic leaders who've joined together with traditional frontline professionals to achieve a singular but bold goal: to reduce the number of opioid overdose deaths by 50% in 5 years. We seek to accomplish this through a collection of interlocking efforts, which include advocacy, education, collaboration across all sectors. The program acknowledges that to combat this crisis, it will take all of our efforts. We know that working age Americans are disproportionately impacted by opioid overdoses. Nearly 2/3 of the American workforce is between 25 and 54 years old, and 75% of all fatal overdoses were within the prime work age in 2018. Therefore, not only do we need to ensure that workplaces are providing support to people who are employed through them that are in recovery, but also to reduce barriers that allow those in recovery to gain sustainable employment. To add to this, many of our local businesses, and we have some here today, have been impacted by workforce shortages the last few years. We know that several key industries have been severely infected, and those industries, from what we know, are construction, hospitality, healthcare, IT, and manufacturing specifically. Today, we're going to talk to several employers and business owners in our Tampa Bay region to see why they hire people in recovery and how they've impacted their workforce shortages by doing so. So, on that note, we're going to do a panel discussion and then we are going to have a presentation at the end. So first, I'm going to introduce our panelists that are here today. Our first panelist is Cesar Rodriguez. Cesar can wave. Cesar is the regional manager for Suncoast Roofing. Suncoast Roofing is a $40 million roofing company that covers the entire state of Florida. Cesar is a dedicated businessman, father, husband, and board member of many area organizations. Cesar makes it a point to give back to his community and has found solutions to workforce shortages that plague the construction industry by hiring people in recovery. Our next panelist is April Woods. April, if you can wave and show everybody who you are. There we go. April is a business owner and a woman in long-term recovery. Through working with other strong businesswomen and business owners, she began to see a path that creates growth for herself and for her community. April is the owner and operator of April Spring Cleaning and makes it a point to hire other women in recovery to help give them the second chance that she received years ago. Our third panelist, Reagan Weiss. Reagan, where you at? You want to wave? There we go. There's Reagan. Reagan is the CEO of 43 Inc., a marketing and innovation company that created the patented package portal. Mr. Weiss is the founder of Hub Life Charities, the Hub Network, and is an author of the book Keep Going, which discusses marketing strategies and collaboration. Reagan has worked with multiple individuals in recovery over the years and completely understands the value of the recovery mindset. And then last but not least, we have Megan Bellagiri. Megan, I hope I pronounced your name the right way. I even had like it enunciated in my description. Megan has been a hiring manager for the past 15 years and currently owns Havana Dreamers Cafe in our Alyssa's events in Trinity, Florida. Megan enjoys being able to support and being involved in her community and has employed many people in years. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to say welcome to all of our panelists, and we'll get started on our questions. Are our panelists ready? Yeah. All right. Okay. To understand the benefits of hiring people in recovery, Cesar, I'm going to start with you and we'll go down the line of the panelists for anyone who wants to chime in. Cesar, we know that construction was one of the most impacted industries for workforce shortages. So this is a two-part question. Why do you see the value of hiring people in recovery? And what are some of the benefits you have seen from hiring people in recovery?
So with the workforce shortage, I came into this company as a person in long-term recovery. I hired in my last business. from the recovery community and I hire here. The value is when there's a shortage, people will hold you hostage for more money, and anybody that's skilled to fit in, to your business model will want way above what the market wages are. And when you get somebody in recovery that's just looking for a chance, that's looking to get their foot in the door in a trade, they're willing to come in at what we offer, very good wages, but we don't want to be held hostage. So I give somebody a chance, teach them a skill, teach them a trade, and give them the opportunities to advance. The value is typically if somebody's working a recovery program, they take that chance and absolutely run with it. Probably 65% of my office and superintendents are people in long-term recovery who have taken that chance, taken that opportunity and run with it and become some of the most valuable assets I have at this company. Where I don't want to sound negative, but you take somebody that's entitled, that knows that there's a workforce shortage and says, well, you need me more than I need you, and they feel like they're doing me a favor. I'd rather give that opportunity to somebody that truly needs it. And over again, people in long-term recovery have shown me that they can shine when they get in these positions. They'll outwork the person next to them, and it's a beautiful thing. I also, as a boss, but as a person in long-term recovery, to see these people come in, learn a trade, learn a skill, or the office staff that I have learn how to work a computer, and you have to be patient at the beginning. But once they learn, they take off and there's no stopping them because they truly are grateful for the opportunities that you're giving them. So I've had a ton of success and a ton of wonderful stories of people that I've given these opportunities to, and I'll continue to do so. You're muted, Kelly.
Of course I am. I mute so that I don't echo and then I start talking. Thank you, Caesar, for sharing that. Does anybody else want to chime in on that, panelists?
Actually, I would. I agree with a lot of what Caesar actually had to say. I mean, people in recovery, especially in the beginning of recovery, they're looking to prove themselves. I mean, they know how to hustle. They've been out there. It's just kind of like redirecting the hustle, and having it be productive rather than detrimental to their lives and, the community. So, I mean, they know how to hustle. They want to prove themselves, and they've got the drive to reestablish themselves. I mean, they're hungry for that chance, and they're appreciative for that chance, where a lot of other people, like Caesar was saying, may not, are more entitled and aren't really looking to prove themselves. So I found that, as employees, I mean, that's valuable to me.
April, I saw you had your hand up. Just feel free to jump in and talk whenever you're ready.
I did. So I agree with Megan. That was the point that I was going to bring in, is the hustle, because I myself, I'm in recovery. I'm about to have 4 years in recovery, and Megan Bellicheri actually hired me when I first came into the programs, and I've been with her for 5 years, and I never intended on owning a business. None of this was meant to be. It just all fell in my lap because I was out there hustling, improving myself. And now I'm able to, when I have these, it was, right? And I just, from watching Megan be a business owner, that I was able to see how to adapt and change and do the things that I need to do. So she was a very great teacher in my life. And so also, like, we go through, there's so many recovery homes in our area that we're able to have many of women that can fill in this force, right? So like anytime that I even have a call out, I can call one of the directors of any of these locations, and I have women that are willing to step in and help out. Even if they're job searching, it helps them to get into the community. It helps them to get some temporary cash to fill in, and then they become my full-time employees. My best employee I met in a recovery program through Baycare. I don't know, and she's still with me. She's been with me for over a year, and she's my hustler now, and I hope to give her a franchise in the future. So it's just, and the loyalty that the people have, that when we give them these second chances, I know forever I will be loyal to Megan. She will 100% have my heart for the rest of her life, and she knows it too. So, and when we are given a second chance, we are extremely loyal to the people who have helped us step up.
I would like to say something as well. And Kelly, you've obviously put together a panel of like-minded individuals, because that's exactly where I was going to go. And quite frankly, I kind of knew where this conversation was going to lead, and I was very reluctant and hesitant to bring that up in the beginning because I didn't want to hurt feelings. But there's truth in this, and here's the truth: we all have something to prove. Whether you're in recovery or not, we all have something to prove that we can do it. It could be the way you were raised. It could be because you're trying to prove something to your parents, your childhood, your brother, your teacher, your guidance counselor that said you would never do anything, right? We all have something to prove, but I truly believe in recovery, it's just that little bit more drive that those individuals that have something more to prove because of what? Because maybe the detriment they put their family through, or their loved ones through, or their family through, or their children through, and they're going to prove that they can do it. And whether that offends somebody or not, I'm sorry, that's the way I feel, and I feel that's the truth. It's the proof is in the pudding. And I will tell you this: I've built a relationship with Caesar over the past several years. I have more real relationships with people in recovery than I've had with people my whole entire life. Now, I want you guys to put that in perspective. Like, think about that. I have real relationships, like people in recovery that a decade ago I wouldn't talk to because I was that judgmental a-hole. And then I got to build relationships with people in recovery to realize how wrong I was, and how nice it is to work with these people, and how strong they are, and they have not only something to prove, but they have assets, they have real value, they're real people just like everyone else. They just fell short in life in some things, like all of us. So like I said, when I have someone in recovery reaching out to me, a guy that hasn't touched anything, I am a nerd. I am just that guy that just worked my whole life and really didn't do much and never followed that path. I followed the path of work, and that's it. And when I have people in recovery saying, "Hey man, how are you doing today? How's Reagan doing?" I don't get that from friends I've had for 20 years. But the people that I have in recovery that become friends of mine, they check in on me more than anyone's ever checked in my entire life. So I'm truly an advocate. I've with the Hub Network alone and working with people in recovery and seeing their drive, I see more drive and 10 times the drive with people in recovery, whether they're employees or business owners, than I do with people that have never touched a thing in their life. So I'm a huge advocate.
Thank you for sharing that, Reagan. And yes, definitely a panel of like-minded individuals, but I knew the other side of it is necessary too, right? Because there's a lot of us on the panel here that are in recovery, but not everybody in the audience, is in recovery. And we need that side too, because that's a very real thing. Okay. The next question, I don't know if everybody wants to chime in on this, but how do you connect people in recovery to the workforce? Does anybody have any experience with connecting people in recovery to the workforce? And would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Actually, I'll grab that one then. A lot of people if you have people that are strong and are in recovery, they're in that community. And they've been there, and they kind of know, you can kind of gauge who's working the program, who's doing what they're supposed to be doing, who's showing up. And most of my employees have been referrals from other people in recovery. I mean, because they're seeing who's out there doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they're willing to vouch for someone else and give someone else that chance that they had. And they're not going to put their names on someone who they think are going to let them down and make them look bad as well. And because they're actively working their programs, they know who else is too, and they knew who's going to be another strong employee. Actually, April's brought me other employees who were strong, and not as strong of her, of course, but who have been out there working it. So a lot of it too, and then reaching out to people who are running some of these programs or running some of these recovery homes and that sort of thing too. They know, hey, this person looks like they've got a lot of potential. This person's hungry, hey, this person might be good for a couple months if you need someone to fill in, but I don't think they're done. And I think people in recovery can kind of see who's there for the long term and who is still trying to get it. So, and I think that's important too, because in giving someone who other people may think hasn't really gotten it yet, you may be that catalyst to show them like, hey, you know, there are people that do believe in you, and, you know, and this is how things could be going. And not everybody works out, you know, but there's a lot that do.
Can I jump? No, you go ahead, Reagan. I'll go after you.
Go, Caesar first. Go ahead.
So, you know, I like that you put that. Not everybody works out. I don't want to spin some picture of every person I've ever hired in recovery has been the best employee ever, but way more have than haven't. The thing is, how do we connect them to the workforce? We connect them by hiring and giving the opportunities, because the word gets out there. Business owners talk to business owners. High-level management talks to other business owners, to other high-level management. We all talk to each other. And if Joe's business calls me and says, man, you know, I can't get anybody to make cabinets. You know, I can't put enough money out there. I can't get one tradesman to come in. I'd say, well, have you tried hiring anybody in recovery? Because, you know, there's people chomping at the bit to get work in the recovery community. Outside of it, it seems like you can't hire anybody. You know, you have to offer them a sign-on bonus and this and pat them on the back. And you've got this whole workforce just ready to jump in that wants to prove themselves. But the only way to connect them is to give them the opportunities and then share your experiences with the opportunities. Reagan just shared about, whether he knows it or not, was decreasing stigma, the own stigma that he had. Other people's actions changed the way he felt about it. And that's the same thing in the business community. The actions speak louder than words. You show the results and you show the value of what these people are bringing to your business. And there's a lot of business people on here. Bottom dollar is people that show up every single day and produce are extremely valuable. And that decreases the stigma of, I don't want to take the chance of somebody relapsing on my job or this and that. Numbers don't lie. You know, numbers show you that the people that show up here that are the first in the door and the last ones to leave are all my people in recovery. And that's day in and day out. And they never prove me wrong.
You know, Caesar, so people in recovery, you have that spectrum of where people are like, I'm clean, I've paid my dues, and it's time for me to prove myself, and they'll succeed. Then you have just below that, now mind you, this is all opinion. Just below that, in my opinion, you have, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be good enough, no one's ever going to hire me, and they're just defeated. There are so many people in purgatory, if you will, that just need that little bit of oomph, that just need that little bit of push, that just need that little bit of accountability, and just need that little bit of encouragement. And I think that's our responsibility too, as leaders in the community, as business owners in the community, to find those individuals, get them in the right placement and say, listen, you are worthy, right? You are worthy of this. Put them in the right path. And there's organizations out there, you know that, Caesar. And the reason why I'm saying this is because there's so many people lingering with that victim mentality and they can't get out of it. And that was the big issue with me for the longest time, Caesar, because I would see people with that victim mentality. I'm never gonna, and I'm never gonna, which is BS, because there's so many programs out there, like including yours, Kelly, right here, that are willing to push people in that right direction, but they just don't know. Right? So it's our responsibility as business. If you're in the business world, that should be a part of your social media. That should be a part of your website. Like there should be a tab up there. In recovery, click tap here. We'll help you if you're willing to take that chance.
I like that a lot. You know, that's why Reagan's such an asset to this conversation, because he's got the mind that goes towards how to market it and how to put, you know, if you have a hiring website that you go to, put a tab on there for people in recovery. Hey, we are willing to look at your application. I'm going to end up jumping right into your next question, because what are some of the barriers? And I'm sorry to just
go. I love it.
You know, what are some of the barriers or challenges you feel people in recovery face when trying to enter the workforce? I can tell you 100%, we live and work in a digital age, and nobody wants you to come write a paper application anymore and do anything in person. Everything is online. And that's one of the biggest defeating things from my own experience that I can tell you is I don't look, as a person in long-term recovery that has a past, I don't look good on paper. If I'm sending out my application and it's email only, and you're never going to get to meet me in person, and you're never going to get a chance to see my personality, let my integrity shine, any of those things, you're going to push me to the side quickly just on what's there on paper. That is one of the biggest hurdles people face, because without that face-to-face conversation, without the chance to show the boss, hey, here's what I'm about, the chance to add something besides just the piece of paper, it's very hard to get hired that way.
Here's the deal, Caesar, and it's a simple, listen, any business owner, Fortune 500 company, they have to invest in their website, they have to update it and so forth. On the next change, listen, any business owner that's in here, if you're willing to make that change, if you're willing to bring people in recovery, that's what you do. It's that tab, you bring it down, and it's your digital footprint, Caesar. It's the digital footprint. Put your video here, because guess what? No matter what, it's your digital video saying who you are, what you are. The person that's hiring you is going to see if you're speaking with authenticity. They're going to see if you're being real. They're going to see if you're transparent. You're going to tell them, this is where I fell short in life. And you're going to have this conversation with the camera, with the owner of the company, whoever's going through the profiles, and you're going to have that conversation. And they're going to know if it's real or not. They're going to know if you're putting on a show or not. And that's just the truth. And I will tell you that I'm going to add to this. People in recovery are some of the best salespeople I have ever met in my entire life. Like I consider myself a good salespeople, and sometimes I go on sales calls and I'm just like, what? Where did this come from? It's a superpower. I don't know what happened, but it's a superpower. So remember that.
So I love the being able to put a video into your application, because what I did, yeah, I know you're excited that I love that too, because it's all about video, but it's true. What I did in early recovery was, whether they wanted me to show up or not, I showed up. If I put in a digital application somewhere, I showed up to the physical storefront and introduced myself, asked to speak to the manager. I was on foot in early recovery. I didn't have a license. I couldn't drive. The first person that took a chance on me and hired me, I went from the lowest man on the totem pole to the general manager within 4 years of that company, because I was so grateful that they gave me a chance, that I worked my butt off. The fact that that suggestion was made could have saved me a couple of pair of Converse that I wore holes in the bottom of walking from place to place, because I could have had a chance to say, hey, my name is Cesar Rodriguez. I'm a person in recovery. I know exactly what you said. I know I've made some mistakes in the past. This is what I'm doing today to try to better myself, and I would love an opportunity to work for you. And here's what I bring to the table. And if I could put that on video and they could look at it, maybe they give me the chance at that in-person interview, instead of just shuffling me off to the convicted felon pile or the guy that made too many mistakes pile. So that's beautiful, Reagan. Thank you.
But imagine that, Kelly, your organization or other organizations that you work with, and now you put out that message. Look at these companies that have that recovery tab. There's people out there willing. So don't say it's not out there, because it's out there. Not only is it out there, they're broadcasting and they're marketing that it's out there, and they're willing to take a chance. If you blow it, that's on you. So to me, that's the next home run for any organization. Implement it now.
And we have a comment in the chat with this one too. Richard wrote, why can we not put the story to make a CV or a resume tell the story of an applicant, not just add a video on a website? Am I misunderstanding? I don't know if anyone wants to touch on that.
I don't.
Why?
Can you read it?
Yeah, why can we not put in the story, or to make a CV or a resume tell the story of an applicant, not just add the video on a website? Am I misunderstanding?
I thought it was, my understanding here was a tab on the website specifically for people in recovery, that I could put my resume in and also attach an introduction. So in my mind, it would be, this is my resume, this is my work history, and this is my video introduction of who I am, because the tab is for people in recovery. So we're already assuming this is people with a past. So tell me your motivations.
You're not listening to me. You're not applying. Like, let's just be real. I'm sorry, guys. I got to speak out here. You're not applying for a job, and then you're not going to disclose your record. That's why you're clicking that recovery tab, because you have a record. That would be the only reason that you, I mean, unless you're do something really disturbing, we're not even going to go into that, have to do with children, et cetera, and so forth. No one's going to hire you no matter what. If you have a drug charge or whatever, and it's been, you know, the devil on your shoulder for all these years, you're clicking on that recovery tab, and that's where you're putting your resume. Like, that's why you, if you're going to put that in a normal story and not say you're in recovery, and then now you get hired on false pretenses because you didn't disclose it, you don't even want to go down that path. That's why you be transparent from day one. You're in recovery. You're transparent. This was my issue. I've worked on it. I fixed it. Let's move on. You're going to get hired. That's what's going to happen, because they're going to see the real you. Anyone else got a take on that?
I agree, just agree. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm glad that you put it up there like that. And that's kind of like the innovation that you bring to the table with this is, I've been doing this for almost 9 years, and it never once crossed my mind, hey, if only we could put this out into the universe and tell business owners, it's as simple as putting a tab in there so they get an actual chance to see what the applicant looks like, and don't just leave it to an algorithm or one hiring person that's just going to look at the surface level stuff on the application. Yes, obviously work history is important. I want to know, have you ever picked a hammer up? This is roofing. You know, I would love to know what you've done. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to shuffle you to the side just based on the fact that you have this charge from 1994, and now I get to see your face without wasting everybody's time and doing in-person interviews, because everybody's really busy with that. But I might be able to connect with what that person's saying and see what their motivation is, and then invite them in instead of inviting 50 people in.
You know, Caesar, the bottom line, I don't want to take me and you taking this whole thing up, but the bottom line is this. We're having this conversation because why? Trouble hiring in the workforce in today. 5 years ago, prior to COVID, this wouldn't even be a conversation, because the majority of CEOs and et cetera, they would say, what? I don't even want to take the risk. I don't want to even go down that road. And I'm just going to hire the way I've been hiring for years. COVID changed everything. The workforce has completely changed. And that's why we're having this conversation. That's why we have to have a recovery tab, because the world's different, period. That's it. I love this. What else we got? What else? I want more questions. Let's go.
Well, you guys just kind of rolled through those 2 questions. I want to stop real quick to see if April and Megan have anything to add to that conversation, and then we're going to take a brief intermission to play a video. But Megan, April, anything else real quick on some of the barriers or on stigma in hiring in the workforce at all? Go ahead, April.
So some of the barriers that I've come across, though, is that sometimes you will hire somebody that is not doing the program or does fall off of the program, and that's okay. So it's just you have to be able to adapt really quick. We adapt really quick, and I noticed so, and I kind of had a small conversation with Megan on this yesterday. It's sometimes there is an entity that comes in, and then as soon as it's removed, the team comes right back together, and they form even stronger than they were before. So I just experienced having somebody kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak, and it was not bad at all, and I think it was a great learning experience. And I think
you froze up a little bit. All right, oh, there we go.
So I'm just grateful for all the learning experiences that I go through in this business. It is a great, it's an honor, and also the people. You know, it's amazing how one simple thing can change somebody's life. So this woman that has started me cleaning her house, I was with another cleaning company, and she liked my style, and she hired me directly to clean her house from that company. And it was through her. She told her neighbor, she told the next neighbor, and that's how I grew into now I'm a business that hires women out of other programs. It was that one woman that changed my life just by hiring me directly. So it's amazing how and now I'm able to change lives. So it's all such a great experience. I would not trade it for the world. And how do I get that tab on my website? I want a tab.
We'll go back to that before we side trail completely. And Reagan, I think you're going to have a lot of people after this webinar that are going to want to talk to you directly. So, okay, so quickly, we will come back to the panel discussion, but I want to take a brief intermission. As we all know and just discussed, unfortunately, stigma is a huge barrier for obtaining and keeping long-term employment for those in recovery. So we're going to take a moment and hear from Justin McPadden. Justin is a person in long-term recovery, a business owner and president of the Hope Shot. And the Hope Shot is Pasco County's recovery community organization. He also owns his own business and drywall business. He's going to tell you about how he was impacted by stigma firsthand and how he was able to overcome and continue to be successful within his business. So Penn, if you can play his video, and if anybody else has questions in the meantime, please put them in the chat and we will take a chance to get back to all the questions.
My name is Justin McPadden, and I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I'm also a small business owner. My recovery date is 3/16/2018, and I haven't had a mood or mind-altering substance since that date. I grew up in a broken home where drugs and alcohol were normalized in my household. I got a job when I was 16 years old, and I started doing construction work. I started doing drywall, and I've been doing that trade ever since. My recovery story really is 2011 when I got drug court. But I didn't take it seriously, so I was drinking, and then it led me to break my leg while at a party, and I got back onto painkillers. And painkillers was pretty much my drug of choice since I was 21 years old, and that's when I fell 2 stories and I messed up my ankle, and they put me on Loratabs. My recovery really started right before 2018. The state of Florida was called. Because I was doing unlicensed contracting with my business, and they said pretty much, you'll never get a license, you're a felon. They don't let felons have licenses, but I did it anyways. And they accepted me and they approved my license after I passed the test. And I've never looked back since, because that acceptance part, they finally accepted a felon to pretty much change your life. In 2020, while doing business, my mugshot was plastered all over the internet because I was being successful in business, and they go after the weakest link in a group. We were in a group doing business. So they took my mugshot and plastered all over the internet and tried to discredit what I've done. So that's how the Hope Shot was started, which is an online podcast on Facebook, YouTube that we created. So we want to share stories of success from active addiction. Because it really affected me, and thank God I had people around me, and I've done recovery pretty good to where it didn't affect me that much. And that's how we thought it was, through positive and not negative like they were doing to us. So since we started this platform, we have helped a lot of people. They have not said a word to us, and they actually apologized and said they're really grateful for what we're doing. And that was definitely how recovery works in this life, is showing the positive of it and not so much the negative, like we were cast into the light with the mug shots. So I'm grateful for that platform, and we're going to just continue to work with what we do with an RCO here in Pasco County. And I'm just grateful to be in recovery, grateful for the work we get to do. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, we make it a point to just take a moment to share a recovery video in each one of these webinars, just to kind of put a face. They're real people. So thank you, Justin, for sharing your story. We're now going to get back to our panel discussion. I know we have several panelists here today that have witnessed firsthand how Justin was able to take a negative situation and turn it into a positive force to not only stay successful in business, to help his community as well. So, all right. So a lot of our questions kind of flow into each other. I'm not sure, something happened to my screen and I can't see my panelists. So I'm going to make sure, I think that you guys are still there with your cameras on. Okay, yeah, something happened to my screen. I don't think it's anybody else's. What are some policies or practices you've adopted in your business to support employees in recovery? And how do you feel these policies have benefited both you and your employees?
something that I think has helped is a lot of the people are in recovery. Some of them are there by choice. Some of them are there court ordered, but they are all working some sort of program. So there has to be some sort of flexibility with their scheduling in order for them to continue on their recovery journey, whether it's, you know, mandatory drug testing or their color days or, you know, things like that. And realizing that when you are hiring people in recovery, there are things that they need and a little bit of flexibility that they need that other employees may or may not need. And being open to that and knowing that they need that, you know, whether it's, you know, this is my home meeting and I'm going to this meeting, whether it's, you know, their different days, their different counseling programs or whatever else that they may be involved with, allowing the flexibility in the schedule for them to continue on their recovery path. I mean, that's just as important for you to be able to retain a healthy employee as it is for them in their recovery process. And also, like Cesar had said, when he started, he was on foot, realizing the challenges that they may have for transportation. I mean, whether it's, you know, having to work around a bus schedule. April, I hope you don't mind, but April rode a bike to work, you know, and she'd be like, it's raining, you know. So in the early days, I mean, yeah, she pedaled to work, you know, religiously for like a year. Now you've got several vehicles, but, you know, she was there, you know, and knowing that, hey, it's raining and April may be a little bit late, or you know what, I'm going to keep her on the clock for an extra 2 hours because she's an awesome employee. I'm willing to give her that overtime, and it's raining and I don't want to send her out on her bike on her way home, you know. And then realizing that bus schedules and other things like that, you know, are important, and it's important to the person and it's important to you, you know, having that employee as well. And also expecting and having to have zero tolerance for other employees in the workplace. You know, that's important too. That's huge. So those are the two things that I know I've had to deal with.
I want to touch on something. Cesar had experience working with me quite a few months ago, and I'm a huge advocate of accountability and accountability partners. So whether you're in recovery or not in today's market, your leaders, your managers, your people in control, whatever, should be having constant communication on a daily, weekly, if not daily basis, where you have private threads with your staff. How's everyone doing today? How's the mindset today? What are you guys feeling today? Not just in recovery, but your employees in general, because I can assure you, they're going to feel that much more important if your manager, if your boss, if the CEO is reaching out and saying, hey, how's your mindset today? How are you sleeping today? And that way, that keeps your finger on the pulse of how everyone's feeling every single day. 100%. So, hey, how's sales? How's this? How's that? Your finger's on the pulse of their mindset. If you keep their mindset in check and you are the leader and you're leading them in the right direction, you're going to retain employees. Not only are you going to retain employees, they're going to talk about you to the masses. They're going to go all over their social media and they're going to say, my boss is the best. Where I work is the best. They care about me. They care about us as employees, not just in recovery, but in general. That's how you're going to not only retain, but gain as well. That needs to happen. Well, I don't understand how these policies and procedures are not in place for every company in America. I don't listen, even at a Fortune 500 tier, right? And then you branch down and branch down and branch down. Team lead, director, so forth. That's how it rolls. Make sure everyone's on the same page. If you have a small business, there's no reason while you're not in touch with your staff, whether it's in the field, sales, or office, every single day. How's your mindset? How you doing? How's your sleeping? Ask your employees how you sleeping. Now you'll know how they really are. Now you know how they're really feeling. Not how you doing, because you could blow smoke and mirrors up that. How are you sleeping? And watch their mannerisms and watch them change. Those kind of questions and those kind of interactions will change your company entirely.
So yeah, I would like to jump in on this. That's showing enough care to communicate with your staff like that. I know in some larger companies, there's going to be a hard separation between personal life and work life, but the mental health of your employees, the well-being of your employees is also conducive to a good bottom line. So there has to be a blurred line there. And Megan put it very well. There's going to be things that we have to deal with. Now, me being in recovery, I look at it a little different. Once I know your schedule, once I know, hey, you go to this meeting on Mondays and you do this on Wednesdays, and you're still at work on Monday when you're supposed to be at your meeting on Monday, I'm like, hey, I love what you do for us. But if you don't maintain that thing, then you won't be able to keep doing it for us. So I do take a personal interest. I've seen guys come in here that were hired as roofing repair guys that went into sales and it flourished. But they can lose themselves in that opportunity as well. So there has to be supervision where I say, are you taking care of your recovery? And it doesn't have to be every single day, but once a week, a check-in. Hey, how's it going? I see your sales are through the roof. Are you taking care of yourself? How's home? How's this? How's that? And then we give them the grace and the space to be able to do what is necessary for them. I don't want to set an unrealistic expectation that I want somebody to work 60 hours a week and still be able to take care of everything else. I want, as an employer, a good work and home life balance for my employees, which in the roofing industry, after 2 hurricanes, it's not very easy right now. But if somebody says, hey, I've got something going on, I need to go home early today, I'm not going to argue with them over that because they're giving me the time back in so many other ways. It's just one of those things that I have to have an open door policy and create an environment that's comfortable enough for somebody to be able to tell me what is going on. If they think that there's going to be a repercussion for anything that they do, they're not going to tell me anything. But if they can be comfortable enough to say, hey, I really need I didn't make my meeting last night, and I know that's my usual day, but today I really need to go at noon and take an hour for myself. And I'm going to tell them every time, please go take that hour for yourself because you're going to be better for us when you do.
We have about 3 more minutes because we do have a presentation that I want to make sure that we give enough time, but I'm going to ask this one quick question to the panel. How can we work together to create solutions and decrease barriers? So you have a lot of different, business owners, different levels of businesses on this call that are listening. How can we all work together to create some solutions to these barriers that we've discussed?
I think a lot of it is sharing successes. When you have that success with that employee who is in recovery, sharing that with other business owners, because there is that stigmatism, no matter what there is, and people are judgmental, but knowing that, hey, people in recovery, they're human, they're valuable employees, they're successful employees, and just sharing that with other business owners and knowing that, hey, I take this chance and it pays off. Maybe that's something that'll work for you too, I think would be huge.
We all have some type of vice. Let's not pretend we don't, whether you're in recovery or not. I find myself sometimes drifting and looking at my phone for way too long. That possibly could be an addiction. It could change my life. It could change my mindset for the day. And then I have to watch what I'm looking at, right? I mean, we all have some kind of vice. I think if we're vulnerable, the people in the real world say, hey, listen, we're all human, like you're saying, Megan, the human factor, and we have that open discussion, then that changes barriers. Like, let's be real. Let's have real discussion. And I want to talk 15 seconds on what we talked about just prior was, Caesar, could you imagine if work became an extension of recovery, where you want to go to work because the leaders, the people in control, the people in power, your boss, the people you look to, are looking after you, helping you. You have that, if you're getting that positivity, not just in recovery, you're getting that from work, you're getting that from people that have never had to be in recovery. I want to go to work. They'll want to go to work. They'll want to perform. They want to be a part of that because it's all positivity, nonstop. You're getting just as much greatness in work than you would get with your recovery mates. That that's that situation. But in regards to breaking down the barriers, it's transparency, having that discussion, and getting with people. Kelly, listen, there's a lot more people than just me, Kelly, that have great, stories to tell about people in recovery and how we all work together. You have to find those people, see if they're willing to put out that message, and have open conversation like this and keep talking about it. And then get it on a platform where everyone can see it. That's the truth.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. All right. Thank you, panelists. Hang out here. We do have a couple questions at the end that I want to make sure that we get to, but first we're going to shift gears just for a moment, and I'm going to bring Ginger Swanson on. Ginger is from CareerSource Suncoast, and Ginger has been working with CareerSource Suncoast for the past 6 years. She's a project and grant coordinator managing the Fostering Opioid Recovery Grant and is involved in her local recovery-friendly workplace group and organizing a specialized training program for HR professionals to begin in March 2023. This training offers local businesses workforce solutions to help their employees during opioid recovery. Ginger enjoys working with those in recovery and matching them up with great employers. So I want to welcome Ginger, have it away. And I know she has some great information to present to us about what she does. And then we'll come back quickly to our panelists after that if we have a minute and address the meeting chat. This has been a good conversation.
It has. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can do this right. Can you see my screen?
My screen's, can you guys see her screen? That's a better question because my screen has been funny.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Good. Awesome. I hope you can hear the video later too. Okay, so thank you so much, Kelly. This is so exciting for me to be here today and tell you a little bit about CareerSource and what we do and answer that question about how businesses can solve their workforce shortages by hiring people in recovery. And I really enjoyed that panel discussion. I'm going to be repeating a lot of those things that you all said. So first, I just want to tell you a little bit about CareerSource, what we do, and a few ways that we can help businesses. And very quickly, I want to show you where we fit into Florida's workforce system. So we fall under the United States Department of Labor and the Department of Economic Opportunity. And then you'll see it goes to CareerSource Florida. So we have 24 regions throughout Florida and over 100 career centers. CareerSource is then able to help employers and job seekers. So the business side, real fast, so CareerSource focuses on recruiting, training, and retaining employees. And we also offer labor market information. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to quickly tell you a little bit about all these things. Recruitment involves using a wonderful website called Employ Florida. And I'm really interested in that recovery tab, so we'll have to talk to them about that. Employers can post jobs at no cost, and job seekers can put their profiles and resumes on there to look for jobs. We host several job fairs and hiring events throughout the years, and we also offer marketing to employers, and we have a ticket to work program that we can talk about later. I lost my clicker. So some training opportunities are on-the-job training, incumbent worker training, and Florida Flex. So on-the-job training is basically where we can help you find employees and then reimburse up to 50% of their wages for that training period. And then incumbent worker is like if you want your employees to take a training program to upscale their knowledge and potential, we can possibly pay for that. Florida Flex is a national training grant designed to assist new businesses or those relocating to or expanding in Florida. It helps pay for those training wages too. So companies who invest in their employees benefit through increased productivity and employee retention. And then, of course, labor market data. We can help you find data on every job posting, career field, etc. on Employ Florida. So very quickly, I want to talk about two opportunities for job seekers that help them become amazing employees. So scholarships are available for anyone who is currently working or not working, and the scholarships can pay up to $7,500 a year in tuition, books, and fees. So for our region, where I'm coming from is Region 18. We have 149 programs and 14 schools on our approved provider list. And every region has its own list. So I just took a couple snapshots of our programs and lists. So even though this talks about Lutz, Florida and Tampa, Florida, which is out of our region, our residents love those. So we have different IT programs. And then, of course, like here, the Community Technical College has like HVAC, cybersecurity, welding, nursing, digital design. We have Fleet Force in Winter Haven and Bradenton and Galen College in St. Pete and Sarasota. But now I want to talk about the grant that I'm working with for a minute because I love it. It's such an amazing grant and opportunity. It's the Fostering Opioid Recovery Grant. It was designed to help combat the opioid crisis in our community. It also pays up to $7,500 in the tuition, fees, and books, but it also provides up to $100 a month in transportation reimbursement to and from school. Now, this is for anybody who's unemployed who has been personally affected by this opioid crisis, but it's also available to friends and family. So if you know somebody who's been affected by the opioid crisis, you too could be eligible for tuition assistance. Now, even if you haven't been affected by the opioid crisis, there is tuition assistance for those who would like to work in a field that's involved in responding to the crisis. So that would be like nursing or law enforcement. So how can businesses solve their workforce shortages? Well, that's easy. We hire people in recovery. Studies show that people in recovery have an increased gratitude for their job, have increased work ethic, have a need for more responsibilities, and a desire to prove themselves. Things like what were being said in the panel discussion. I love this. It takes a significant amount of strength to recover from substance use disorder. These are powerful people, and you should really want them on your team. So Phyllis Engelberg wrote an article in the recoveryisgoodbusiness.com website. She's a co-owner of the Lunchbox Restaurants. And now I'm not going to read the entire article to you today, but I do want to highlight a few things that she wrote. She says that she's been hiring people in recovery and has had an overwhelmingly positive result. She says that they have a sense of purpose. It has removed one of the biggest challenges most employers face, which is finding and keeping good employees. She says that they're loyal, and she states that my employees show up on time, sober, and ready to work. There's a wonderful energy, and again, she mentions that sense of purpose, and she says it's as a staff and the business, so it flows through the whole business. So now, hopefully, if my technology works, I'd really like you to watch a 3-minute video from one of our clients. Jillian has an incredible success story to share, and I think it's really important to share it with employers too. Let me know if you can't hear it, okay? Why should businesses hire people in recovery?
So one of the main points that I can make about hiring people in recovery, we have been through so much already that I feel like we hold ourselves to a higher standard. We want to be these hard workers, and there's so much stigma put behind addicts and everything that once we get into recovery, we're not able to be seen as normal people anymore.
So tell me a little bit about your recovery. What's your story?
So I grew up with parents who were alcoholics, drinking, things like that. So, I mean, really my whole family, cousins and everything, it was just the norm. You know, you go to work, you come home, you crack a beer because you had a hard day, and, you know, who knows what you do on the weekends. I ended up getting sober for a little while, about 2 years when I had my son. I was 26 when I had him. And then, so I was sober the year before and then the year after. And when he turned a year old, I had met this guy, and he was heavy into drugs, and one thing led to another. And it happened so fast. I found myself, I was an IV user, I was on heroin, I was on meth. It was crazy. I spent 4 months in jail. Tried to be sober again, but I was still with the same guy, and he wouldn't stop. So of course I got right back into it. ended up violating my probation that they had let me out on. I ended up going back to jail that day, and I spent 8 months in the county jail. And just had a long time to just sit there and think about what I wanted in life. You know, my little boy turned 5 while I was in jail.
Oh.
My dad passed away while I was in jail. My grandmother passed away. My mother was in the hospital. I sat there and thought, like, I can't believe I let my life come to this. But since I got sober, it gives me a sense of dependability, a sense of initiative to go to work. I need to provide for my family. I'm need to be who I told this company I was going to be.
Yeah, that's great.
Because, and it's not only for me, but it's in the future when they see somebody who may have a background, or, you know, a background in substance abuse, they'll go, you know, I remember that Jillian girl, and she was great. This is who I was. This is who I am now. And I'm,
Exactly.
you know, willing to say, I promise you these things, that I'll be dependable, a hard worker. You know, you can trust me, even work overtime, things like that if you need me to. As long as you're willing to be a good employee, I don't see why people wouldn't at least give it a try.
I love that story. She's awesome. So again, recovery is good business and knowledge is power. So here's some more information. Did you know that 67% of HR managers believe substance misuse is a serious problem? Now, what I hear there is that 33% of them don't know this. 70% of illicit users are in the workforce, and 1 in 10 full-time employees has an addiction. The rise of crisis levels with mental health and substance use disorder in the United States has become a second pandemic. So just to read a couple of these, I have to read the first one because the first one is so shocking that over 50% of those who experience mental illness will also experience substance use disorder and vice versa. So there are 40 million people over the age 18 that have a substance use disorder. 1 in 4 remote workers have reported going to work impaired by alcohol or drugs since the pandemic. 76% of workers believe their employers should be doing more to protect the mental health of the workforce, and 90% of employers are investing more on mental and behavior initiatives in 2022. So the number of employees that admit to being less productive or distracted at work due to substance use or addiction in their family is 46%. So that's almost half of our employees. So how can the employer intervene? Well, CareerSource has partnered with iCare Workforce Solutions to offer a national award-winning course for HR professionals. iCare stands for International Center for Addiction and Recovery Education. So due to the pandemic, mental health issues like depression and anxiety and behavior health issues like substance use disorder from alcohol and prescription medication are surging within the workplace. For 25 years, iCare has been providing training, certification, and professional development services, but iCare Workforce Solution was founded in 2020 as a response to the surge in substance misuse and addictive behavior arising as a pandemic within the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a great program, and thanks to the Fostering Opioid Recovery Grant, this 9-week national award-winning program, which is almost $2,200 a person, is free. Classes are virtual. Participants can earn 20 CEUs. However, funding has limited seating available. So a side note, please contact me as soon as possible if you'd be interested in attending. Our next program is in March. So the course content is presented in 6 parts. It's addiction awareness, professional facilitation skills, resiliency training, understanding opioid and other drug use addiction, substance misuse and workplace culture, and my favorite, creating a drug-free workplace, recovery-friendly, supportive workplace. So in the training, you'll learn about some common signs to look for in employees needing some help. Now, the list on the screen doesn't necessarily mean substance use disorder every time. That's where training by professionals is so helpful. This training for HR professionals also talks about the bottom line for businesses. So, of course, we need to talk about health calculators to understand how mental and behavioral health affect our business and estimate the prevalence of the disorders in your company. So these calculators create personalized reports based on your workforce demographics. So I'm going to end with this and show you that this is what it looks like from the National Safety Council. For example, today I put in Florida and 150 employees to see what we'd get. Information from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health states that a company here in Florida with 150 employees will spend $211,458 and lost time, job turnover, and retraining and healthcare in 1 year. So here's some more information. But look at that in the middle of the screen. Recovery is good for business. Substance misuse and substance use disorders can be an expensive problem for employers. However, providing resources to assist workers with their substance use disorder can be very good investment. So workers in recovery help employers avoid $4,088 in turnover and replacement costs. Workers in recovery miss 13.7 days less per year, and each employee who recovers from a substance use disorder saves the company on average $8,500. So I'm going to end with that. So please contact me if you're interested in that HR training, like I was saying, if you have any questions for the business service team or anything else. But are there any questions that I can help answer right now?
So quickly, we're 2 minutes over, and I just want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's time. I do want to go quickly into the comments. Thank you so much, Ginger.
You're welcome.
Richard had another comment, and Richard, I put my email address in the chat. I want to make sure that you get connected to Reagan to make sure that we address your question. Michelle from Career Source Citrus Levy, Marion is already offering to create short videos for people in recovery with barriers to employment. She said they're being well received by businesses and also being shared with other Career Source regions. She said it's a great tool, and she's happy to hear a business owner like Reagan who's equally excited about this. Phyllis, I did want to address this quickly. Phyllis Babrov said, I'm not a business person, but the mother of someone who had a substance abuse problem for over 30 years. After she went into recovery in her 40s, she was clean for 4 years prior to her death from fentanyl in 2020. During those 4 years, she could not find a job because of her past legal problems, in spite of having a master's degree. Her question was, how can she help with getting businesses to give people in recovery a second chance? And we've talked a lot about that today. I know that if Sarah had been able to get a job, she would be able to still be alive. I'm so sorry, Phyllis. She lives in Broward County and involved with various coalitions and want to do whatever she can to help make this change. Phyllis, I'm also, for you, get a hold of me after this. I am happy to get you involved in what we're doing here with Live Tampa Bay, many other local organizations that we work together, keyword work together, so we're not working in silos. Reach out to me. I'm happy to get you connected. And Justin said that was a handsome fella. I'm not sure who, probably either Reagan or Caesar's, he's saying. And then Michelle, again, thanks, Megan. Yes, there are incentives that can and are also used as a tool to open doors for persons in recovery with justice-related backgrounds. So again, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for contributing to the conversation. Please reach out. I will get you connected to our panelists that were here today. And again, we're 4 minutes over. So, and I know a lot of our panelists joined us from their full-time jobs. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for joining us today. We know that employers can be a big support to people in recovery. So by implementing some of the strategies discussed today, We hope to provide ways we can work together to create more recovery-friendly workplaces in the region. It's our hope that today we've invigorated and re-energized this conversation, and we can use the topics discussed here today as a springboard into solutions that we can all take back to our respective organizations. And that's really the goal with many of these webinars, is to be able to give solutions to take back. So I just wanted to say happy holidays. Again, I know it is the week of Christmas, and thank you so much for joining us today. Our next Link Lunch and Learn will be in February, but I just wanted to plug to make sure that you're looking at all of Live Tampa Bay's website and social media channels, especially our Facebook, because we have a lot of upcoming events in January, as well as our luncheon coming up in March. And we look forward to seeing you all in February. Thank you again to everybody who came. Thank you to our panelists. Have a great day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.